Thanks, Ed. Pretty well wrapped up my talk, so I think we're just about done. No, really, I want to start by thanking each one of you for being here and for participating today. We had some tremendous presentations. We had some, hopefully for each of you, some shared knowledge, research, experiences that you can take back into your world, and they'll make a difference. So I want to kind of wrap up today with a couple little stories and a couple words that maybe you can take with you. The words that I've been, by the way, I usually don't pre-write 14 pages of notes, as Mandy explained, because as an older speaker, I've learned that I never looked at them anyway, and so eventually I began to say, you know, when I go to an event like this, I want to kind of take in the environment and then share what comes to my mind, because the years have been good to me in the sense that I've had an opportunity to experience a lot of amazing stories and see a lot of dreams come true. So I want to take a minute, first of all, and share a couple words that kept coming back to my head today. Those two words are spheres, because we all have them. Everybody in this room, all the organizations have their own sphere, their sphere of influence, the sphere of knowledge, the things that they work with on a regular basis. So that word kept coming back into my head. And then another word which hasn't really been mentioned today yet, which is leverage. Leverage occurs when we're able to apply tools or some sort of system to taking some information and magnifying the results. And most of our organizations struggle with having the financial resource. We might have a great idea, and we think, you know, if we had $20 million for that idea, we could blow it up. We could really make it fantastic. And the truth is, in working with youth, we have way more needs than we have answers, and we have way more needs than we have resources. We have young people today, right now, who are struggling with survival. People who are unsure about how they get through the weekend. And we're here at a conference in a beautiful room thinking about how we influence their careers 10 years down the road. It's important that we do those things, but it's also important that we recognize the world that we are in has emergencies in it. And so with those emergencies, it made me think leverage. How do we quickly magnify 10 times, if you will, the impact of each of our organizations, each of us individually? How do we get much more in terms of result and impact quickly? We do that through leverage. Got a Canadian friend who talks about this, and I always chuckle because to him it's leverage. But it's using the resources that are around us where there's common purpose, common principle, but not a connection. So as you're going away today, think of those two words, spheres and leverage. I want to tell you a story that about something in my own life that influenced me. I want to tell you about an 8th grade English teacher named Mr. Gustafson. Yours truly was the oldest child of the oldest child. My father was the oldest of 11 kids. I was the oldest of the next generation, of which there were 55, because the 11 kids averaged 5 apiece. We're from the state of South Dakota, so we represent about 25% of the population. But in that environment, none of my family had been to school. We were basically farm families, laborers, workers in the area, but no significant impact at all in education. So I didn't grow up. I grew up with encouragements to do well in school. You know, like most first-generation kids, there's a pride that parents have when a child does well in school, and I had that. And so as I went through school and had some success, I was encouraged by parents that encouraged me to do that. And I had an experience with Mr. Gustafson that has influenced my life. And someone said earlier, and I don't remember who the speaker was, Chris, I think, said, some of these problems take more than a minute. In my case, I'm going to tell you about a situation that took about 60 seconds for a teacher to change my life. It was the second week of my 8th grade English class, and we had to turn in an essay on a particular topic. I don't remember the topic. But school always came pretty easy to me. I wasn't one of those students that had to spend a lot of time in order to get by. And I was very social, so I would prefer to enjoy school from a social aspect. And if I could avoid spending a lot of time in the books so I could have more time socially, that was a high priority for me. So I went to school, I got this assignment. I spent a few minutes the night before after doing something with friends, and I quickly wrote out the essay to turn in to Mr. Gustafson. So I turn it in. A couple days later, he's handing out the papers. On the top of my paper, in a big red letter, is the letter F. See me after class, is the note. I had never received an F before, and this was a particularly large F. And I was, as you can imagine, in fact, it's kind of a side story, but I think I'll avoid that. But the impact on me emotionally was horrible. I mean, I'm like, oh, God, I'm going to have to tell my mom that I got an F in English class. So I go up to Mr. Gustafson after class, as demanded, with my tail between my legs, so to speak, and my head is down looking at the ground. And I get up there, and Mr. Gustafson looks at me, and he said, Don, and I have never really had a one-on-one conversation with Mr. Gustafson yet at that point. He said, Don, your paper was the best one that I received. And I'm like, it's not connecting, right? And I said to him, in my head, real quickly, I'm like, okay, so he must have made a mistake. And he goes, but I gave you a grade based on your effort. It's the best paper turned in, but I believe you could do so much better that I thought I wanted to get your attention as to what this class is all about. And then he said, I know a little bit about your family, which I did not know. My parents had been through a divorce the year before, and, things were difficult. I was trying to find my way in the world. He goes, I know a little bit about your situation, and I know that you have some things that are bothering you. I want you to know, I think you could be, you can do whatever you want to do, and college is definitely in your future. And then he took my paper back, and he took his red pencil, and he drew a line down the F, turned it into an A, and said, you deserve an A, the paper was good, but remember how much better you can do. And that whole conversation literally, I think, maybe took 60 seconds, maybe 90 seconds. And as I think back now on my life, and I've reflected on that moment, ever since I got into high school and I started making plans to go to college, my college-going identity was created for me as a first-generation student in that little fraction of time. Now, there were many other positive influences, a lot of community around me, great involvement with the YMCA, Junior Achievement. A lot of the organizations that are represented here had a very positive influence in my life. But to me, I look back and I think, where were the little things at the time that turned out to be huge? So, as I want to wrap this up, I want us to think together quickly about how the brain works. We all hear things about how powerful our brain is, and that we might use 10% of it, right? I think the brain, I think of it like light switches and the lights in the room. That there are certain switches that if you flip them, all of a sudden the brain turns on and it starts to energize around a particular topic. And what are the things that turn the switch on in our brains? A lot of times it's a question or a challenge or something where we really feel threatened. So there are a lot of ways that switches can get created. Mr. Gustafson, with me, flipped a switch. He flipped a switch by thinking, and I don't know how much he even thought about this. I don't know if it was just his natural way of working with kids. I don't know. But he knew how to flip a switch. Many of us in this room represent organizations that are filled with individuals that love to get a reaction and flip on switches. Okay? So what I'm feeling today as we wrap this up is to try to create something simple out of a lot of messages. We've seen a lot of bars and graphs. We've seen millions of pieces of information. Data is critically important when we start measuring the effectiveness of programs. But as we walk away today and we think about the term leverage, what I would encourage us all to do are to think about how we can enlist an army within our own spheres, and by connecting to other spheres, let's enlist an army of adults where we help simplify for them the message. And by the way, the amazing research today and the similarities between folks from different areas, different disciplines coming up, and I think the harmony with which we've learned, that's all wonderful. But I think it can even be reduced to more simple concepts. Young people, all of us, have to have confidence. Without confidence, we don't perform. Confidence comes when someone believes in us or we believe in ourselves. So simplifying the message to those within our sphere about the importance of instilling confidence. Number one, when I look in the mirror at myself, I try to encourage my own confidence. Number two, when I meet with other people, I want to try to encourage their confidence because we do great things when we're confident. And then second, so encouraging volunteers to have the simple message about encouraging young people that going to college makes a difference. We can do that across all of our organizations, all of our spheres. And second, we can connect our spheres. And that's what this dream is all about by having you all here today. I'm hopeful, and I can see by being back in the back of the room, I've seen a lot of connections get made today. I've seen a lot of business cards going back and forth, and I've seen really intriguing conversations that I'm watching, and I see heads nodding. And that's all a great thing. What that is the spheres are connecting. So what I hope you will do today is take your notes, take your thoughts, and make at least one significant connection with another organization where somebody's doing something that could be used in some fashion within what you're doing. So if we connect our spheres, we've got the opportunity to really create leverage and do more things. I passed around our instrument, the My College Options student survey or registration form now. We're in an online environment. 3 million high school students a year are visiting their own personal page at My College Options. It works much like a Facebook. It's free. All this program is free to students in high schools, but it's a lot like a Facebook for colleges and students. Colleges come to us, we work with them, and they identify students based on their profile, and they connect with them online, and those students are able to learn about institutions and about the programs of those institutions. If our sphere can create connections for you in your organizations to opportunities to help dreams come true between the young people that you work with and the colleges that we represent and work with, we'd be happy to do that. You've met Joan, and you met Ed and Ryan. These guys are really full-time in the environment of creating connections between organizations like yours and NRCCUA and My College Options. So I want to wrap up again by saying thanks. I want us to go away with, I hope, a sense of encouragement. It's Friday afternoon. We get to relax and enjoy the weekend. But I hope you've all picked up something of value. Thank you very much for coming, and we look forward to learning from this, and hopefully next year we'll have a bigger and better and more exciting convening of minds. So thank you very much. That's the day.